Hello, it's June 15th, 2023, and this is the Peaceful Empowerment Work Show. We are live on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio. I am your co-host, Judy Forder, and I am here with my co-host in peace, Kris.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Today's topic, when are healthy boundaries not?
This is a good one.
It absolutely is. So we've had some constructive feedback on the shows that we've done so far. And one of the very valuable info that we got was that maybe we review our map prior to launching into the topic for today. So Kris, do you want to talk people through that?
Yeah. And first of all, if you want to get your own map, this was one of the other suggestions that we had. We've made it available so that you can download this map for yourself. Simply visit Masterful U. That's masterfulu.com/get-your-map. And of course, I'm reading that for people who are listening on and not seeing on the radio. And when you go there, you'll see this neat little orange button that says download the map as a PDF. And you just click on that button and boom, you'll get the map so that you can follow along and also, use it to reference, use it as reference during the week between shows as you travel along and wonder, what zone am I in right now? And is this where I want to be? Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yes, because we were talking, and any topic that we discuss, the map always pertains to it.
Yes.
Because no matter what topic, there are zones that we exist within. So for anybody who is just now joining us, hasn't watched our previous shows, Kris, would you like to run through the map with them pretty quick?
Sure. Running through the map quick, not my specialty, but let's see how I do. So in zone 1 on the bottom, on the lower left, basically that's our family values. That's what we acquired during early childhood from our family members and also ancestral patterns that were passed along in our cell memory, which is a real thing. And zone 1 is really, it's ruled by instincts. When we're in instincts, our body's intelligence, our ancestral intelligence takes over, and actually our rational minds are not present in that zone. So we can operate fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, or people pleasing, as we would call it, but we're not really present to make conscious choices. In zone 2, we're in intellect. And this is really where we're trying to figure out, how do I get through this life thing? How do I win this game? How do I find security? How do I not fall into zone 1 where my instincts take over and my mind goes offline? Because that's a really uncomfortable position where we feel like life is happening to us and we're completely out of control. So zone 2 is often about figuring out, how do I stay out of that? How do I avoid those bad feelings? Zone 3, bottom right, that's where our intuition kicks in. We all use our intuition all the time. It's when our innate curiosity and our open-mindedness come online. And if you're kind of, scratching your head like, well, how do I know when that is? Just go spend an hour with a 2-year-old. And there you go. We came into the world with our intuition, like right there, ready to go, primed. And then zone 4 is inspiration. And that's where our creative expression, our unique creative expression and imagination comes online, where it could be, Thomas Edison, who used to sit with a tennis ball in his hand. He'd ask a question about the inventions when he was working on electricity and light bulbs. He would ask a question and then he would fall asleep. And when the tennis ball dropped out of his hand and hit the floor, it would wake him up and the answer would be there. What he was looking for was to access that level of inspiration. Not everybody has to fall asleep to access that, but everybody needs a method, needs to find their way that really works for them to connect with that part of you that will tell you what it is that you want to make in the world, what influence you want to have in the world. Yeah. So That's the map. And what we think and what we feel and what we're able and willing to do in each of those zones is distinct. So if I'm in zone 1, the things that I'm thinking, the feelings that I'm having, what I'm able to do as a result of those thoughts and feelings are, they're fear-based. They tend to be kind of heavy. They're very protective. We feel kind of vulnerable. Whereas when we're in intuition, the thoughts and feelings and actions we take are much more about like, I wonder. I feel like I just heard that there's something happening, down at the community center this Friday, and something inside of me is saying I should go, right? So I'm going to go. I'm going to trust that and go find out what this is about. So those are really different energies, and by moving our zones, we completely change our experience.
Yes. And when you were talking about zone 1 there, I kept hearing limited. In zone 1, we're limited
Yes,
to our resources. We believe that we don't have choice.
right.
And it's difficult for us to see that there is choice.
Yes.
Whereas when we're in the zone 3, expansive,
Hmm.
expansive, we're able to think beyond the walls of the box.
Absolutely. And, in zone 1, and I have to remind myself of this a lot, but in zone 1, our mind, our rational mind is literally offline. That's
Yeah.
a scientific, that's not even questioned in the scientific world. That's known. So when our rational mind goes offline, of course, we can't see anything beyond what's happening right in that moment, because it's been the part of you that's able to think and take in and question and analyze has been pushed to the back so that your body is positioned to run away or to fight. All of the energy and all of the blood flow is focused on taking that action to get yourself out of immediate danger. We're not really meant to live there.
No, not at all. That's why I always see zone 2 as that's where you create your survival techniques.
Hmm.
You gather tools to, like you said, keep you from falling back into zone 1.
Yeah, for sure. And zone 2 can be helpful. We've talked about this recently, that if you're feeling your intuition and listening that and following it, your zone 2, your intellect, is super useful to, it's collected skills and knowledge and experience that's really helpful to support your intuitive or inspired ideas. It's just when your intellect is leading the show, it's going to be, again, limited, as Judy said, because that's going to be really inspired by, funny to say that, but inspired or informed by your instincts, by your fears, by
Which
your worries. Yeah.
I think there could not be a better segue to our topic for today.
Yeah. Look at that.
uh Didn't even plan that. When are healthy boundaries not?
Yeah. Let's look at our question that we posed to everybody. Yeah. The big green.
Yeah, our
There we
thoughts.
go. Yeah. So we
Yes.
yeah, we just dumped a bunch of stuff on our fantastic producer. So she's doing awesome. Thank you.
She is. She's doing great keeping up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we posted on some social media sites the thoughts. When are healthy boundaries not? And we actually got a few comments this week, so that was
We
exciting.
did. Mhm. All right, let's look at those comments. There we go. So one of the first comment we got is that healthy boundaries are not healthy when they're to placate others and they're detrimental to yourself, right?
Mhm.
So let's see. Do we have an example for that, Judy? I bet we do.
Well, to placate others, I immediately think of the people pleaser.
Mhm.
You got the pleaser within you. So you're creating these boundaries that, okay, I can do this because it will help them. I can do this because it will make them happy.
Yes.
You're not thinking of what is best for you, you're thinking what's best for others.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
There's
what
a lot of, I'm sorry. There's a lot of that energy of, well, it'll help them and it won't hurt me too much. Like it'll be okay.
right.
I can make this sacrifice. Which we're not suggesting that there aren't times, I mean, all the time I go and do things that wouldn't be my first choice. But before I go and do it, I make sure that I'm not just going because I don't think it's going to hurt me too much. I'm actually in a frame of mind where I'm like, this could be fun and it would be good to spend time with, fill in the blank,
Hmm.
right? Which is not to get yourself out of that. I'm willing to sacrifice myself.
Yes.
Um,
I always say if you can't do it from a heart-centered place, then don't do it.
yeah.
Because if you're doing it out of obligation, obligation breeds resentment.
Yep.
And that opens the door to anger, frustration, feeling used, all
Hmm.
of those things. So if you can't do it from that heart-centered place, from a place of love for yourself and whoever's involved, then say no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And say no.
Absolutely. All right. Let's look at that second. And thank you to our commenter. That was a good comment.
Yes, it was great. Let's see what our second comment was. I feel healthy boundaries can turn opposite when you become attached to those boundaries. You no longer control the boundaries, but you become controlled. They become a necessary part of your life, rigid in their ways instead of a here and now way to satisfy a need without reassessing that need from time to time to adapt, learn, and grow.
Yeah.
Yes. Immediately, I think, boundaries are not meant to be set in concrete.
Hmm.
As we are constantly learning, growing, and evolving, our boundaries do the same.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And what might a boundary you might need with somebody today in a certain situation, tomorrow you might show up in a different zone and they might show up in a different zone and that boundary might just completely be unnecessary,
Yes.
right? Or the other way around. So if the intellect wants to say, this person is good or this person is bad or this activity is good or this activity is bad, but when we're operating really with healthy boundaries, we're saying what's right for me now,
Mhm.
given the circumstances. And we're open to letting our intuition and inspiration inform us about where am I right now? Where is this other person right now? And would doing this thing, does that feel right to me? Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest message I keep hearing over and over again, since this was set as our topic, is we need to remember that as we grow, evolve, and heal, we show up differently, and
Yeah.
in that, we allow others to show up differently in our lives too.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
everybody's a teacher and
Mm.
everybody's a student.
Yeah. So true. So true. And if we decide that we're always going to show up in a certain way with certain people, then we're locking that relationship into what it already is. So if we allow ourselves to show up open and say, okay, let's see what this is going to be like today,
Hmm.
then we allow ourselves and the other people that, like Judy said, that room to grow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I know early on in my journey, something that, setting boundaries, I was I was one that I felt my purpose here in life was to help fix everybody, rescue everybody, do all this, so I was always the last one on my list. And I know that that is not rare out there. There are many people that do the same.
Hmm.
So when it came the topic of setting boundaries, I was like, wait, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And well, there are certain people that fill you up, there are certain people that drain you, there's this, there's that. And because I was not one that set boundaries when I first started doing it, there was this energy behind it like, yeah, I'm going to do this and this is the way it's going to be because I deserve to be treated better.
Yeah.
Like making a declaration to everybody that would listen. And, what I have learned over the years is setting boundaries is a very personal thing.
Hmm.
They don't have to be posted on billboards on the highway
Right.
because it's about you. It's about how you're feeling in that moment. It's about where your energy is and what you're willing to work with and what you're not. And one of the biggest things that helped me realize that it was a personal thing was, you know, something as simple as who in your life drains you and who doesn't.
Mhm.
So when the phone would ring and I could look down and see who it was, if that was a person that drained me and I was not in a right space to have that conversation, I would literally say out loud, I love myself enough not to answer the phone right now.
Right.
And then when I could get myself together, I could get myself in that space where, okay, I'm ready.
Mhm.
I'm ready to hold the space. I'm ready to listen. I'm ready to be what this person needs me to be. I would call the person back.
Mm.
Whereas before that, it was, oh, they called me. They must need me. And I
Right.
was always answering the phone, no matter where I was. And you know what, Kris? We talked about this last night. And since then, it hit me. My mother used to do that.
Ah.
My mother would be losing her shit, hollering at us for whatever, because we deserved it. Hollering at us, and that phone would ring, and she'd pick up the phone after raging and go, "Hello."
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yes.
it hit me last night. That was something I saw. That's what my
Yeah.
mother did, and she was one that was always there for everybody else.
Right.
But yes, rage, rage, rage. The phone would ring. Hello, how are
Yeah.
you? I'd
Yeah.
be like, wait,
Yeah.
what?
Yes, absolutely. Right. Yeah. Boundaries, the boundaries are really about, as you said, about how we are in our world right now and making sure that we're taking care of ourselves so that we can be the person that we really want to be in our hearts. And there are different times when we're able to do different things. Like what Judy is sharing is what, well, a lot of us learned about. I'm going to hide what's inappropriate, right? If there's something going on in my life right now that I think is not something that I should, right, be letting other people know about, then I'm going to shut that down and I'm going to show up the way I think the other people need me to show up right now, or the way that is acceptable or appropriate.
Mhm.
And so boundaries are sometimes about being really crystal clear with yourself about what choice you're making. Am I doing this because I'm ashamed of my life? Am I ashamed of the way I am with my kids? Is that why I'm presenting something different? Or is it because I don't trust this person to be respectful or to honor, my truth? Like that sometimes, yeah, sometimes I get angry. If you're human, you get angry sometimes. If we can't admit that, let's look at that, right? That's part of those boundaries, like what's going on inside of you and really owning what happens inside of my boundaries. That's about me.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's something where the more I worked on boundaries and the more I was seeing, the more work I did, I realized, that person drives me insane. Well, that was on me.
Yeah. Yes. And say
That
more
was
about that. Like, what choices do you have when somebody's driving you insane?
what you have choices not to engage. You have choices to be honest. Me, I've learned to check in with yourself. Why? What is that bringing up in me? But
Right.
early on, that wasn't something. Early on, it was like, I got to set this boundary to get them away because, woo, I
Yeah.
can't even think when they're around.
Yes, because I go into zone one.
Yes. And it was creating that space and that boundary, though,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to set this and blah, blah, blah. And it, setting that boundary created that space for me to see the crazy is in me.
Yeah.
And when I was able to show up differently, they were able to show up different for me.
Absolutely.
You
Right.
know,
And then, oops, sorry, I'm
Go
just
ahead.
going to comment on the map. So let's put that into map terms. All of us hear about narcissists, right? So we'll hear about the narcissists are terrible, and then there are the empaths, or there are the innocents who are run over by the narcissist. And what's interesting is that we all have a narcissist in us because we all have an ego, and the ego is another name for the intellect, right? So the ego is not bad, but if it's in control of your life, you're probably living in the shadow of what you think you should be, and what you think you should be doing, and what you think you should have, instead of really being consciously engaged in the life that you do have, and how to make that experience like even better and better and better.
Yeah.
So that feeling of when we first start using boundaries, sometimes the reality is if we keep going into zone one where we feel overpowered, which can literally it's literally the experience when you're in zone one, then those boundaries might be, hey, zone tour, or hey, um, narcissist, or egomaniac, or whatever the words we think are when we're in that zone, back off, right? And that can be a necessary thing to like get out of my world until I can get comfortable enough inside my own skin that your presence doesn't freak me out and send me back to zone one,
No,
right?
that's perfect. That's perfect. And sometimes when we get started with this whole boundary idea, people that didn't have them before, you do set boundaries in zone two. Well, it means ego is setting the boundary.
Yes.
And then once the space is created, you can go to zone three. And in
Right.
my world, we call that soul, higher self.
Hmm.
you know can see the bigger picture, and you start to take responsibility and ownership of your experience, and in doing that, that's where the healing occurs.
Right.
So you're able to that's why we say the boundaries are fluid depending
Hmm.
on where you are.
Right. And the healing, when we get to zone three or zone four and we talk about healing happens, means that the energy that we're in, that consciousness that we're in, actually helps us to release the past experiences. It could be trauma, it could be disappointments, it could be the thing your third grade teacher said to you that just to this day you carry it and you think of it every time something bad happens, right? It's those things that we carried along that people said, and we grabbed onto and we went, "Oh my God, that's so bad. That's so painful." And then, you know, um, we kept it. We held on to it because we feared that it was true. That's part of the energy of what's in our instincts. That's why when we're in our instincts, we tend to feel really low because we're in with all of the horrible things that we've heard about ourselves, or the horrible experiences that we had that we thought were our fault. They all hang out in zone one energy.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's where your victim lies too. Your
Hmm.
victim. I think that's a perfect place for us to take a break,
Yeah.
and we'll be right back.
Okay. Wow, that was a snazzy new commercial.
I know. I was like jamming out to the music.
Yeah.
We are back, and this is the Peaceful Empowerment Work Show. We were just talking about when healthy boundaries are not. We did a
Mm.
lot of talk about the map and the zones that we fall in. And there's a tool that I like to use that I had introduced to Kris a while back. I talk about the auditorium, because when we talk about setting boundaries, whether it's with people, whether it's with experiences, um, I picture myself standing on a stage, and I have front row people. Those front row people are the people that you can call, and no matter what state you're in, you can show up, be true, authentically you. And even as I was trying to figure out who that was, whatever that reality was for me in that moment, I was loved, I was accepted, I was embraced, I was supported.
Mhm.
Front row people. And sometimes, that front row isn't full.
Yeah.
It's two, three people, One person, it's again, this is fluid as well,
Mhm.
all depending on where you are and what you need in those moments.
Mhm.
But these people are what my daughter calls them, the ride or dies. You
Yeah,
know, they're going to be with you no matter what.
yeah,
You know, and the ugly times and the great times, front row people, boom, there they are. Nine
yeah.
times out of 10, it's a family member, you know, it's whoever. It doesn't
Mhm.
have to be, there are no scripts as to who these front row people are.
Right. Yeah, so important, your choice. And there may be times in your life when it can't be your parents, right? Which we've talked to a lot of people about feeling like, oh, my parents, I wish my parents were able to do this or be this. And a lot of that is because we think that they should kind of be all things to us whenever we need whatever we need. They should morph themselves into that. But in reality, if we can just say, hey, if we have one or two people in our front row, just be grateful because that's a gift. I mean, one person in your front row is a tremendous gift. Somebody that you can say whatever your truth is, even when it's, we call it snotty, messy, um, right? Because sometimes you just need somebody to just sit with you and not try to make it better, and not try to pump you up or, puff you up, but actually just to sit with you and let you be where you are right now and say, I can sit here with you. That's a gift.
It's
Yeah.
a very big gift. And it's funny because my daughter, I always I blame it on Disney and all the kids shows because she has struggled not having a number one BFF
Right.
since she was in elementary school.
Mhm.
And, you know, I always tell her when I was going through school, there wasn't that pressure to have one number one,
Mm.
but I knew a lot of people. I could go to any group, the potheads, the heavy metals, the band geeks, all of them, the athletes. I could fit in any group.
Mm.
I was like a chameleon.
Right.
You know, and those people in my auditorium, I always picture those people like in the middle sections
Mhm.
because I always felt welcome when I was with them. We had a good time, but if my life was falling apart, they're not people that I would reach out to.
Right.
So they were my middle rows.
Yeah.
Now I found my back rows were people that either in the front they were once front row people or in the middle rows that had hurt me
Mhm.
or I felt were disrespecting. And
Mhm.
because I was a teacher, disrespect was a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, that was always a hook for me.
Yeah.
So those people I learned it was okay to move them to the back row so that I
Mhm.
could have time to heal and figure out, what was it about their actions that really hurt me? Why did that hurt me? Where does that stem from? And it was
Right.
always my choice if they moved back up. And
Right,
that's
and a lot of times those people can be colleagues or people who you're going to be spending time with them,
mhm,
right? So they're not friends that you're saying, "Yeah, I'll go see a movie with you once in a while." A lot of times people in the back row are people that you're going to interact with as long as your life is what it is.
mhm.
And you've just decided, yeah, there are people that I'll be kind of respectful, but I'm not going to make it any sort of effort to really build a relationship because that doesn't feel I don't feel called to do it.
Yeah, it's funny. I just heard open my heart too.
Yeah.
Open my heart and share my energy.
Yeah.
And that is a sacred thing. I think
Mhm.
social media has gotten us all into this, spill your guts everywhere.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. Well, that's such an important thing because I often say to people, what you hold in your heart, like your dreams, your if I could do anything in the world, it would be this, or what I really want to happen. That's precious.
Mhm.
It's something that really comes from your heart. You want to be really careful about putting that out in front of people because you can get a lot of reactions that can actually cause you to close your heart again, instead of what you're looking for is people to say, yeah, that's beautiful, go do it, we believe in you. And in our society, it's really hard for people to say, it's beautiful, we believe in you, go do it, because most people are actually, they have their own precious thing that they're afraid to do. So it's hard to cheerlead somebody else when you're carrying the pain of, I really have this thing I want to do and I'm afraid to try.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people aren't even aware that that's where they are.
Hmm.
So the more self-aware you become, the more you start to understand that your energy, your time, your heart is sacred.
Yeah.
And you have the power to pick and choose who it is you're going to share those things with. And that's okay. There is nothing wrong with that.
Mm-mm.
And please, by no means are we saying if you have been, abused in any way that you're supposed to heal and then bring that person back into your life. Forgiveness is one thing. Forgiveness serves you, helps you to heal. Forgiveness, yes, serves them as well, but it doesn't mean that they have access to your life.
Right.
There's a big difference there. And some people, I will tell you, out to the lobby, out to the freaking parking lot.
Yeah.
Some people not even in the same state.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The choices are yours. And that's the big thing. We live in a society where we've been made to believe we don't have choices.
Right.
And we do. When we do what is for our highest and greatest good, it's not selfish
No.
to take care of you first. And a healthy boundary is one that you establish because it, I'm struggling not to use serves you, but it helps you do the things that make your heart sing,
Yes.
that light you up.
Yeah. And one of the things about boundaries, I didn't know what boundaries were for a long time. I could talk about them. They were sort of this conceptual thing, but I didn't have a good enough concept and working knowledge of them. I hadn't experienced them enough to really understand that boundaries. Um, so I used to think like, well, there's some people you have to lie to because they can't handle the truth, for example,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if somebody says, don't lie to me, like, tell me the truth, don't lie to me, but I'm going to get mad at you when you tell me what you're going to tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Or let's say you work at a job where everybody's like, oh, yeah, it's great here. And then it's at the water cooler, everybody's like, oh my God, it sucks so bad. Right. So we do live in a world where what we present to the world can be different from what's in our hearts. And so what do boundaries have to do with that? One of the great things about boundaries is that they allow you to stay in integrity with yourself. They allow you to always tell the truth, which is really important because when we know we're lying or faking, we actually it diminishes how we see ourselves. We lose respect for ourselves
I was
when
just
we.
going to say, it kills a little part of us.
It does. Yeah, we don't think very highly of ourselves when we know that we're going around like making it up as we go. So even if we feel like we have to at the time, it doesn't do good things for us. So to tell the truth could be the people in your front row, you might tell the truth, like the whole truth. And the people in the next set of rows, you tell a piece of the truth. And the people in the parking lot, if they ask you and it's something that, there's a reason to say something other than I don't want to talk about it, right? You could tell them something that's actually true, but it's so vague that it doesn't mean anything, right? So there are levels of truth that you can tell where you're not lying, but we don't have to open up and tell people about the stuff that's really precious to us. Those people that we really open up to should be carefully chosen. I don't like to use the word should. We benefit when we take the time to consciously choose those people and we don't just go parrot, which is what happens a lot. We'll get used to saying something about a situation, and every person that asks us will say the same thing without kind of thinking about, does this person care? Do I need to share this with them? What's driving that? So to be really conscious, and it might be enough to just say, it's going okay. Thanks for asking. That's true, right? That's truth. And there's no way that you're later going to be like, oh my God, I hope they don't put that on Facebook. This happens. Or people, Judy and I experience this a lot. When you become open-hearted and you're, coaching or teaching people to work on their inner world, a lot of times they'll tell you things that they really need to tell somebody, and maybe they haven't known you very well. And so they will be so grateful that you're there to listen. And then later on, you feel them kind of withdraw from you. And we now know, yeah, that's normal because they got home and started thinking, I just told the stranger like all of this stuff about myself. And they don't yet know that we're trustworthy.
Mhm.
I mean, we would never disclose because we know it's sacred. We know what they shared with us was sacred, and we're grateful for that. We honor that. But they don't know that yet. So don't put yourself in that position of, oh my God, what have I done? Take the time to find out, is this someone who understands that what's precious to me deserves to be honored and respected?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have a choice. You don't, I had to learn that I don't need to be liked by everyone. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm not everybody's top cup of tea. And that's and that is okay.
Yeah.
And that's difficult after being a people pleaser.
Mhm.
And especially in my life because I was loud and boisterous, everybody assumed I said whatever came to my mind. And
Right.
boy, I did not.
Right. Right.
you know.
And this
So
idea that if people don't like you, I struggled for a while with learning I can still like them. I don't have to dislike them just because they're kind of going out of their way to prove to me and other people that they don't like me, right? I don't have to have an opinion. That it can be just like, okay, not going to put a lot of energy there. That's okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were talking about, first row people, mid row people, all that being fluid. That's why, we encourage you not to burn bridges
Yeah.
because you never know what it is that you're going to heal by giving yourself some space. And when you show up differently again, it allows them to show up differently.
Hmm.
And, that's why those rows can be completely fluid.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah. You can become best friends with someone you couldn't stand.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times that not being able to stand somebody is because you're seeing in them something in you that you're not able to acknowledge right now. And when you work that out, the two of you are like, oh my gosh, we're so much alike. But before that, when you're trying to hide that part of yourself from yourself or from other people, you don't want to like them because you can't accept that about yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm feeling like we need it's almost a disclaimer. If there's physical, emotional um, abuse going on out there,
Yeah.
verbal abuse going on out there, by all means, set those boundaries, set yourself free. And again, you are not obligated to allow those people back into your life.
No.
Okay. Forgiveness is important for your healing, and that is it.
Yeah.
They do not get access to your life again unless it's something that you want to allow. So, we talked about not setting those boundaries in stone when it comes to your safety. No matter what that is, you set that boundary in stone until you realize you are worth everything more that you want.
Mhm. Yeah, such a good point. Um, Boundaries, there are different times, and by using the map and continue listening to the show, right? You can attend workshops or dive right in to take the class with us. But if you use the map in the beginning, you might have to be rigid because we're battling with ourselves, right? We're trying to give ourselves permission to do what we need, what matters to us. And so we might have to be really, strong about it because we're trying to overcome those past patterns.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Boundaries are meant to serve until they don't. That's why reassess.
Yes.
That comment was perfect. Once they become rigid in a way that we're trapped in the process, we're trapped in the routine, reassess
Right.
and see what needs to shift and evolve because
Yeah.
are shifting and evolving.
Yeah. And it popped up that, if we go around saying, that person's a narcissist, I'm not going to hang out with them. It's interesting because that energy is very much narcissist energy, right? I mean, that's the thing, is that the thing that we judge and push away and say, I reject that, we become the things that we reject, if we don't evolve as we grow.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I think we did pretty good with that. It's time to start wrapping up. So
Yeah.
we have 3 levels of engagement here. We are really enjoying offering this show
Mhm.
for free and sharing the map and how to work with the map. So you can listen to the show, or 2, we offer workshops for a very reasonable price.
Mhm.
And 3, we have a 12-week program called Own Your Experience, where we dig more extensively into the map and we work with you and your experiences in life and work you through a topic of your choosing.
Yeah. And we've seen people in the Own Your Experience class do everything from overcoming chronic back pain, to toxic relationships, career shifts, allergies, financial struggles, whatever people come in and we ask them, what's that one thing that if you could change, your life would feel better to you? And they work on that, and inevitably by the 5th week of a 12-week program, they're going, oh my gosh, this is really different. Yeah. It's powerful stuff. We don't do it. We guide and facilitate the process.
Yes. So our next workshop is Tuesday, June 27th from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can find more information at www.masterfulu.com. That's www.masterfulu.com. We want to thank you all
Excellent.
for joining us today. We're having a really good time doing this show, and we love the feedback. So if you have any suggestions for us to help this flow easier or better, please let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Judy.
Thanks, Laura. We have our first live comment.
We
Woo-hoo!
do. That's so exciting.
All right. We'll see you
Yeah.
again next week.
Okay.